Anxiety, stress, worry, OCD, ADD, ADHD, all these fucking abbreviations. Do you want to know what it all roots down to, where they all stem from? They stem from emotions. And in life or in sales, in anything really, parenting, fucking marriage, you have to be able to control your emotions or your emotions will control you. This is what this video is about. I'm going to share with you how these emotions can really play a role in whether or not you succeed or whether you fail or you just remain stagnant and part of the traffic. Welcome back to Sales Remastered. I'm Daniel. I'm your host. I'm your friend. And more importantly, I'm a fellow hustler going through life just like you. And in this series or on this channel, in this brand, whether you found me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, or even SalesRemastered.com, I'm glad you found me. If you're returning back to this channel, I appreciate the likes, I appreciate the shares, and more importantly, I appreciate the follows and subscriptions. In this episode, I'm going to cover the game of emotions. And I could speak a little something on this only because I've been in a very emotional sport called sales and life for 36 years now. And the reason why I bring this up is because, you know, as of late, I'm creating a brand, which is Sales Remastered, and I find myself being too cautious about views or likes or shares, and I've become almost OCD with how many people liked it now, how many people liked it in an hour, in two hours, or how many people liked it at this day, at this time. I'm getting more traffic at this time. How come nobody didn't like me then? You know, and that's just social media. That's just a fucking brand. You might discover it in different ways. You know, as a matter of fact, you've discovered it all through life. And anxiety is a key player, I think, in day-to-day life, just because we're flooded with information, whether it's the information highway such as internet or it's just going about your daily business. And anxiety plays a role because, you know, first when we were young, anxiety played a role around Christmas time, right? You're anxious to see what you got, or you're anxious to get a new toy, you're anxious for your birthday, you're anxious for the first day of school to wear that brand new t-shirt. You know, there's all kinds of different forms of anxiety. And then as you got a little bit older, anxiety maybe happened at school dances. It happened when you asked the first girl out or first boy out. It happened when you had your first kiss or when you mated for the first time. There's all these anxieties throughout your life. And we've actually been shown examples of it time and time and time again. So you would think that most of us would be able to control it. Well, as of late, you know, not too long ago, actually this year, I really started studying on the emotion of anxiety and where it stems from. And what I found is that anxiety plays a role because we have expectations, and also kind of like we're more concerned about whether or not it's being accepted. And if you peel back another layer, anxiety actually just comes from fear. And if you peel another layer out, that fear is because you don't have control over something. And when we look at that from kind of just from its own baseline of just black and white, it really stems from fear. And, you know, not fear like, oh, I'm gonna go hide. I'm talking about fear and anxiety of whether or not you'll be accepted, whether or not you're going to be judged, you're going to be criticized, whether or not you're going to fail. And so all of these things are not actual. They're just illusions, right? And for example, like let's say if you are parked in a good neighborhood and you got your car outside, you got a nice car, you know, you might have confidence that your car is not going to be messed with. You leave it unlocked, you know, leave a window open. And if it's in a good area and your mind believes it, then you are going to perceive it as safe. You're not necessarily going to be, you know, at your location parked and worried and anxious of whether or not your car's being broken into or being stolen, right? Even though it's possible, it's definitely possible, it can happen. Shit, bad things happen in good neighborhoods all the time, you know. But for whatever reason, at that moment, because of your belief system, the anxiety is not controlling you. So you're not sweating, you're not looking out the window, you're not checking your car alarm every 5 minutes. You know, you're good, right? But again, there's always that chance. And the same thing applies with anything. There's always a chance, but you know, it's all going to be based on your belief system. And so whether or not you believe you're in danger, or you believe you're going to fail, or you believe your car is going to get broken into, is going to dictate your actions and how you carry yourself. Now on the flip side, let's say you're in a bad neighborhood. Let's say you're in a neighborhood you don't even want to drive down, and you park your car and you're making sure everything's locked. You're making sure the glove compartment's locked. You're making sure your window's rolled up tight. You check your alarm 2 or 3 times because you have a belief system and anxiety within you that, you know, something's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen. And sometimes that may not be illusion. You know, you're just being safe. You're just being cautious. But what happens? You come back out and nothing fucking happened to your car. You believe everything is just focused on your car or your belongings. And I know this is an example that you can shift in many different ways, and I could probably find a better example, but I haven't had my coffee yet. So I'm getting that now, and I just want to share with everyone on here is that emotions are 99% of them are fucking illusions, right? And whether you use, you know, let's say for example, pre-workout or a certain music genre to put you in an emotional state where you're motivated and you're hypey, you're hyped up to get your workout in, at some point that's still an emotion. That's still something that carries you. And so that's why the concept of emotions will either make you or they'll break you. They'll either push you or they'll pull you down. They'll be your anchor if you don't know how to control them. And what's interesting about it is to me, emotions is almost like gasoline for your car. You know, you can have weak emotions like fucking whatever, number 82 or whatever, the lowest unleaded shit, or you can have high octane emotions where you're able to control them. And I'm gonna produce more video content on how to actually control and manipulate your own momentum. And to create momentum, you have to understand what fuels that momentum, and what fuels your momentum is your emotion. Whether it's emotion of anxiety, like you have this instant rush to accomplish something, and you're not going to settle until it's accomplished. On the flip side, there are people who naturally have good momentum. They have good emotion, and it's simply because of one thing: they just don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about the way they're being perceived. They don't give a fuck about what other people think about them. They don't give a fuck about what naysayers have to say about their beliefs. They are just focused. And so what drives them? How come they don't have this emotion? Oddly enough, when you don't have that emotion of anxiety or fear of failure or being misperceived, you have characteristics that are behind the minds of people who put things in our life, who change the world. You know, everything you see around you was an idea of somebody. A car, a fucking cell phone, a computer, internet, all of it started out as an idea. And that idea had its fair share of naysayers. Can you imagine everyone, when cars came out, like everyone was just used to having a horse and a fucking carriage. And then some dude said, hey, I'm gonna make this shit motorized, and the whole world's gonna be filled with these motor run fucking boxes with wheels on them. I can imagine how many fucking naysayers and people doubted that idea, but whoever stood strong and controlled their emotions changed the fucking world. And it rippled through time. So hundreds of years later, now cars are they're everywhere, right? But at the same time, when it first started, cars were nowhere. It was fucking unheard of. So for someone to take that risk and to ignore the naysayers, ignore the doubters, the haters, the people that judge and have their fucking 2 cents but aren't doing anything, they didn't allow that to deflect and sway their motivation, because they had a good control over their emotion. So that's the fucking power of emotion. If you can learn how to control it, you can dictate and determine your future. So learn with me. I appreciate your time. Have a good one.